Hi everybody and welcome again to ZCode Sports System. Here we developed automated systems to help you win. It doesn't matter what sport you're betting on, we've got you covered. Okay, so we're going to get into some NHL action for December the 9th, but before you do, I'm going to invite you to join. You see this VIP club section and there's all these tabs across the top. Every one of these has some tools that can help you make your picks. Okay, so there's 3 games in the NHL. It's a light schedule, but the NHL season's about a third of the way complete. So teams are really starting to figure themselves out as far as whether or not they have what it takes to make it run towards the playoffs in the second half. The first game we will look at the Chicago Blackhawks and the New York Rangers. You see both teams are really struggling, both dead status. Chicago has lost 4 straight and 5 out of the last 6. And and the Rangers have also been very bad. They are also just 1-5 over the last 6. If you look at the over/under, you can see that the teams have been involved in games mainly over the line. In fact, 11 of the last 12 games have been games over the line. The score prediction has a lower scoring game of 3-2, but the confidence is only 54%. On the power ranks indicator, you can see the big downward trend from the Rangers. They were as high as plus 28 less than a month ago, and they have dropped down to plus 10. While Chicago has been down at the bottom almost the whole season, when in fact the whole season has been near the bottom, and they're just at plus 1. If you look at the head-to-head matchup, the teams have not yet met this season. Let's take a look at the volatility oscillator. The consistency factor, both teams are very consistent regarding their favored underdog status. Doesn't mean they're good, it just means that they're consistently performing as expected. If you look at a couple other things, the Rangers are 6-5-1 at home, and the Blackhawks are only 4-9-2 on the road. And another thing is that there's a big scoring differential edge of plus 16 to minus 18 in favor of the Rangers. So because of these few factors, I do like the Rangers at home. I think it's going to be a pretty easy win for them. Let's go with the Rangers by 2 in a game over the line. Okay, the next one is Detroit at Buffalo. This one here is an interesting matchup because they're both in the same division. Although, again, neither team is really that good at the moment. Buffalo is 5th in the division and Detroit is 7th. And Buffalo has lost 5 in a row and just 1-5 over the last 6. And if you look at Detroit, they have also been very bad at the moment. They have lost their last 4 and they are 2-4 over the last 6. The score prediction is for 3-2 in favor of Buffalo, but the confidence is rather low at only 41%. And this kind of lines up with the over/under. You can see Detroit over in 3 of the last 4, Buffalo over in 3 of the last 4 as well. We take a look at the power ranks indicator. Again, not a surprise, both teams down near the bottom. Buffalo dropped off a cliff over the last week. They were at plus 13. They're now down at plus 2. And Detroit has pretty much stayed steady over the last few days at plus 4. If you look at the head-to-head matchup, we can see that both teams won earlier this season, and both of them won at home. You can see Buffalo won 5-3 as a home favorite, and Detroit won as a very slight home favorite back on November 2nd by a 2-1 margin. Again, the consistency factor, both these teams are relatively consistent. Buffalo more so than Detroit. Detroit has been more up and down with that. In fact, you see here back on October 24th, they were in the minus category at -3. And right now we see Buffalo is at plus 5. Another thing to consider is the records at home and on the road, which is nearly identical. Detroit is 5-6-2 at home. Buffalo is 5-5-1 on the road. Buffalo has a scoring differential edge, although both teams are negative in that category. I like Detroit simply because they're at home and because it's a pretty even matchup. So I like Detroit at home in a game over the line. Now we have Anaheim and Montreal. Although the teams are both in last place, they're heading in opposite directions by what you're seeing here. It's the burning hot status versus ice cold down, because Montreal has won the last 2. They're 3-3 over the last 6. Anaheim has lost 2 of their last 3, and they're 2-4 over the last 6. If you look at the over/under, you can see the last 2 was for Anaheim over the line, the last 2 for Montreal under the line. In general, they've been over the line if you're looking at the long term or the last 6, but if you look at the short term, you can see that they're trending on opposite sides of the line. The score prediction has Anaheim 3 and Montreal 2. The confidence in the prediction is at 60%. On the power ranks indicator, You can see again, not very good for either team. +8 for Montreal, +3 for Anaheim, but you do see Montreal on that little upward trend because of their winning the last couple of games. Head-to-head wise, you can see that the teams have not yet met this season. Stability factor, I always like to look at this. And again, this is another case where even though the teams are both poor in last place, they're pretty consistent, actually very consistent, both at 7, regarding their favorite underdog status. So because of this, I'm going to put this together here in a moment, but I want to let you know one other thing. The Canadiens are 7-5-2 at home. Anaheim has a better road record than home record. So I see one other thing here is that the scoring differential for Montreal is one of the worst in the league at -21. So I like Anaheim and a road upset on this game, but I'm going to pass on the over-under bet. Okay, so there you have it. Only 3 games scheduled in the NHL for this day. Happy betting, and we'll see you again next time.